What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, DN Duel commentary. We got Mickey to the D, 1689, and our old friend Nesh, 1738. Nesh is back on his Fire Fist after experimenting with Yugioh. He was playing Yugioh earlier today when I played him. I hope that, well, this is game 2. I really hope that he wins this game because I like to see Fire Fist doing well. Alright, so you see he opens up with Tinky. That gets him Leo, which, I mean, he can summon and then go like Leo Spirit. Nope, he doesn't even use the Leo that he got. Okay. Now Mickey to the D is playing Hat deck, so I'm starting to think Hat deck's not that good. I mean, it's good. It's just like the artifacts just they kind of feel weird in the deck, man. I don't know. I'm starting to think like it's not as good as, well, definitely not as good as Yugioh. But I'm starting to feel like the deck isn't as great as what people are making it out to be. Like breakthrough skill is so strong against the deck. It is ridiculous. Like if you have 3 breakthrough skills in your deck and you hit a couple of them or wiretaps, man, a lot of times you can just destroy them because they get a lot of awkward hands, and I don't mean that as like a joke or a pun. I mean they get a lot of awkward hands as just kind of a random assortment of shit, and they struggle to get over big monsters outside of using blue artifacts. But back to the duel where Mickey to the D is thinking, and he hasn't made a play yet, which tends to make these duels not so exciting. Okay, so he opens up with Myrmilio, and the way that I look at it as, well, you see he burns breakthrough skill. The thing about breakthrough skill, and again, why you're going to see it so good against this deck. Alright, so turn 1 here, you have breakthrough skill, right? Okay, so technically it's a neg 1, but you stop Myrmilio from getting her effect. Now, what this does later in the duel is, since all artifacts, for the most part, all artifacts activate during your turn, that means that breakthrough skill is pretty much invaluable against them, because when your opponent wants to be like, oh, I'm going to use my breakthrough skill on you, okay, well, you know, or they want to use their artifact effects, that's when you'd be like, okay, breakthrough skill. Like that's what's so good about breakthrough skill right now, is that second effect didn't really come in handy that much against most decks, and now it does a lot. Alright, so you see that Nesh is going for he summons Leo using the normal summon, and you're wondering if Mickey to the D has any type of response. This face down card is locked out from Goyoku. This is one of the reasons I still play Book of Moon. I like Book of Moon a lot. I really like Book of Moon a lot. I kind of feel like it should go to like 2 or something. You know what? Let me just stop rambling before I get on something that's completely not relevant to the duel. Alright, so Leo went for Tinky. Tinky's going to be set. You wonder if maybe Mickey to the D is going to use Artifact Ignition, and he chooses not to. Nesh is going to flip over Tinky. I wonder what he's going to get. He ain't going for Wolfbird. Okay, he goes for Spirit. So he's looking a couple of turns in advance. I think he's trying to make his play as safe as possible, because you think, okay, never mind, throw that out the window. I was going to say maybe he was thinking, you know, Tensu, but then it's like, all right, well, he has to get both of them at the same time, but he's obviously going for the juggler here. All right, so we're going to see a Spirit play. Spirit gets Leo, and you see an artifact, Sanctum, that's going to activate. This is not going to stop Nash from going off, and I'm going to explain why. I guess he resets it. I think he realized, holy crap, that's not going to stop my opponent from going off, because again, the second he summons blue artifact, he's going to breakthrough skill him. Yeah, exactly. You happen to see that breakthrough skills in his graveyard, and then he realized, oh wait, my blue artifact isn't going to stop you from going off. So yeah. Alright, so we're going to see Horse Prince come out. I mean, regardless, it's just, you know, once you get a breakthrough skill, your options are limited. And Mickey just decides to scoop. So, Mickey will obviously start game 3, excuse me, and Nash will be going second. What cards do I like coming out of the side deck against H.A.T deck? I like Debunk. I run 2 copies. I like Debunk because Debunk hits all 6 hands, and it hits the 3 blue artifacts and then the 2 red artifacts if they run those. So that's 6 plus 5. That's 11 cards, 11 monsters in particular that you can hit. I don't think they, if they happen to run hand traps like a Max C or something like that they randomly use on you, you can also hit that. So Debunk hits over 10 cards, just a minimum. So that's definitely good. Trying to think. I think that I cite in. I think I might. No, I don't cite any breakthrough skills. Oh, I like Rivalry of Warlords because their whole deck is, well, you know, the hands are fire and water, and you know the trap trick monsters are earth, and then the artifacts they're fire. So I like those two. Now I would say Nesh's best option here. I wouldn't have MST'd that. I think that's a fucking artifact. I knew it. I knew it, dude. I was going to say summon Baron Attack, man. Just summon Baron Attack. Now, if he has Tinky, it doesn't matter, because he's just going to go Tinky Bear. Okay, so he goes Tensu, and he's going to use the Tensu summon, obviously. You need Bear, though. No, you don't. Okay. No, you don't, because you can just launch Tensu for Rooster. Rooster gets Tinky, which gets Bear. Honestly, I was just thinking, as much as Mickey tried to sell you on, I just said artifacting Sanctum, I did not believe that was a Sanctum. Why would you just Sanctum and that's it? Like, I'm not buying that. So I was just like, all right, that's it. Now, if he had Goyoku, I think that Goyoku would have been infinitely better. And you know what? I guess Mickey is going all out. So you see a Max C here. And now I think, okay, you change it up a little bit. Instead of going to the synchro, I think you go for the XC. I think that's exactly what you do. I think you give your opponent the plus or the 1-for-1, and I think you go for the XC Fire Emperor. Yeah, you go for that guy. Now he can't get back spell or traps, but he can get back spirit. You just have to, you got to get something else in the graveyard. But depending on what Nesh's hand was, I'm not sure that I would have went for the home run there. I like the base single. The base single is basically you get Bear and you just Bear pop. And I'm trying to think, what would you get off of Bear? I think you get another Tinky. I'm not, depending on if you have protection. It's all about if you have protection from Exiton Knight. If you have protection from Exiton Knight, I may be inclined to get Goyoku. But then again, I guess the upside on Tinky might be a little higher. So yeah, I guess the upside on that is higher. So you're seeing that Ice Hand comes down. Nesh better have some type of response here, otherwise he might get the break speed off of him. The hand was pretty much the perfect counter to that. Maybe a debunk or something like that. I don't think he does. He has a wiretap. Wiretap's no good. Your opponent doesn't have any monsters on board. And that's unfortunate, because I think he's going to lose his whole entire field. That's another reason I think the Bear play was a little better. Granted, they get the same result if they crash into what's that guy's name? They crash into motherfucking damn, I forgot his name. Rooster. So now expect Mickey to the D to just load up with back row. I'm wondering why he's only summoning one card, unless he opened with like 6 monsters. You know what I mean? Like, would he open with like 4 hands and like 2 artifacts or something like that? Like, I don't know what type of bad play or bad hand he opened with. Okay, so he just sets 1. I'm not buying that as a good trap either. Unless you just top decked it or something like that. Why wouldn't you set it turn 1? So you see a Goyoku. Problem is, how's he gonna get away from that? From the ice hand. And then we just see a set. Now, I still think Mickey to the D obviously has advantage here. I think you might see the summon of Myrmilio or another hand monster. I think he's gonna summon another hand monster, honestly. I think he has a bunch of ice hands and fire hands in his hands. I think he drew like 3 of them or something like that in his opening hand. Just the way that he's playing his hand out, it just seems kind of weird. It seems like he's playing unusually defensive. Okay, so he activates Pot of Dichotomy. I'm trying to think of what he has in there. Okay, he has... Alright, so yeah, he has 2 hands and the artifact monster. Oh, right, he used Max C, so he wouldn't even need the artifact guy. The Max C is enough to cover everything. And what Mickey to the D really needs, he really needs an Ice Hand of his own. He doesn't need Fire Hand. He needs Ice Hand. If he has Ice Hand set, he should be in pretty good shape. If not, it could be a long duel for him. I mean, I guess from Jump Street, he could have given his opponent a bunch of cards from Max C, but, you know, I'm not really sure where that would have got him. So Mickey sets a card and just passes. Again, he has to be flooded with monsters in hand. So you see another Goyoku. And Mickey just passes turn. Now, he can't really get Exciton Knighted because this is 5, and I know he has way more than 5. Probably looking at like 8. He has 9 cards, actually. So if you're Mickey, okay, kind of playing with house money here, your opponent is going to have to exceed at some point or later to get rid of this. I mean, you'd wonder, would they just go Dweller and attack? You know, knowing that they've got a 22k Dweller. But, yeah, if I'm Nesh, I'm concerned about an Abyss Dweller coming down and just, you know, attacking my monster, which if I'm Mickey, I'm going to read as either a Fire or an Ice Hand. Fire Hand, I would not be too concerned with. Ice Hand, I would be because, you know, you start picking out back row and shit like that. So, once again, you see Nash sets a card. He needs a Fire Fist monster badly. I mean, it's a shame that he already burnt his spirit, and she's kind of a pain to try and get back or something like that. You know, I don't think the deck plays Rekindling anymore. Although if I was him, I'd still play Rekindling, but I don't think a lot of people play Rekindling that much. So you're seeing a lot of passing back and forth. This actually seriously benefits Nesh. It's not even a question. This benefits Nesh because I've always thought that if you give your opponent enough time to essentially reset the game, it's advantage them because what did you work all game to do? Like all of those pluses that you got from Dichotomy and from the Maxi and from, you know, his initial Ice Hand, Fire Hand, ramming, all of that. What did you do then? Like if you're just going to erase it, you're just going to let your opponent stall and basically get back to where you both have 5 in hand, you both have 5 on in your back row. It's like, what the fuck did you do then? That's the way that I look at it. If you're not gonna summon, you're not gonna exceed, you're not gonna do anything, you're not gonna make your opponent burn cards, then what the fuck were you doing for the first like 3 turns then? You know, I try never to let up in Bujins. I'm always like attack, 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 attack. Unless I have absolutely no protection at all. Like I rarely ever do this. I used to do this a while ago. When I was playing Kaiser Coliseum, because sometimes I would try and deck my opponent out with, you know, have a Yamato on board, Kaiser Coliseum, play another one, have like Turtle, Crane, Hair, have all the protection I needed. My opponent couldn't do shit. So I'd be like, alright, well, I'm going to just deck you out. A guy at an ARG event did that shit. He decked his opponent out. So you see a 101 come down. I'm not reading this as Fire Hand. I really think it's Ice Hand. Because it was fire. If it was Fire Hand, okay, well, no, it's Fire Hand. It has to be Fire Hand now. Otherwise, why would he use Breakthrough Skill? So, anyways, maybe we see. Okay, so it is Fire Hand. I was thinking maybe we see. Maybe we're gonna see a. What's it called? Maybe we're gonna see an a wiretap. So Mickey gets rid of Fire Hand with the Solemn Warning. He's got 101 on board. I mean, he's got traps for days. 2 of his cards are locked out with Goyoku. And if you're Nesh here, you have to wonder at some point when you're going to try and go all out. You see that Mickey sets another card. You wonder when you're going to maybe just go Tensen and then try and go for a big push. He sets a card in his back row. That means cards like Soul Charge are probably going to be out of the question because if I'm Mickey, not only am I going to attack with 101, obviously, but I'm going to attack with another monster too, and you see that's what he does. So that's 35k, which means Soul Charge probably not going to happen, or it's not going to be that that advantageous. The thing about Soul Charge is when your opponent has locked and loaded back row, a lot of it, you kind of need. Well, never mind. That kind of changes things a little bit. I was gonna say you kind of need for you kind of need to have a lot of life points. All right, so we see double D prison. I wasn't expecting that at all. And we see an evac on the ice hand, and it's kind of surprising we haven't seen a what's it called? We haven't seen this many turns, and we haven't seen a Myrmilio yet. That's odd. And I think that might favor Nesh, because if his opponent draws bottomless and, you know, Nightmare, then obviously that's good. Now, Nesh is sitting at 8,600, so Soul Charge is actually very good now. I mean, granted, I thought it wouldn't be, because I thought he was going to be eating, you know, 3,500 right there, but he ends up taking nothing and gaining 1,000 life points, so it's like we went the exact opposite way. So Soul Charge would be really, really good now. You know, it could get rid of this Tinky from Rooster. You see that Nesh sets a card, sets 2. I still think that this kind of favors Nesh a little bit. I say that because this deck runs a very low monster count. He can eat these attacks forever. So it's not heavily in Nesh's favor, even though, I mean, obviously Mickey has like twice as many cards as him. I mean, he's got 10 right here, 11. Nesh has 5, 2, 7. So he's neg 4, but still. What he doesn't want to do is draw like a bear, because he needs to be able to get rid of fire, ice hand. I mean, if he has like a debunk set, okay, then, you know, it's a little different. So we see a blind MST. I don't know why he didn't use that during the end phase. He hits Nightmare. I think he just wants to set. I think he just wants to set another spell. Oh, never mind. We see another MST, and that hits bottomless. Wow. So those were the 2 trap cards that that Mickey. Well, I mean, you usually search out with Myrmilio, which means you wonder how effective she's going to be in the game now. Now, I don't know if the standard Hat deck runs 2 copies of. I don't know if they run 2 copies of Nightmare or not, or they might just go 1 and 1. 1 and 1 seems like the best ratio, or they might go 2 Myrmilio, 3 trap hole cards. I think that seems like, yeah, you know what, that seems better, because that means Dayanara might be a little more consistent. So you see the 10 key from Nesh. Keep in mind, 2 of these cards are locked out. If he's counting from the deck, 1, 2, 3. These 2 are locked out. Now, Mickey to the D has way too many cards in his hand not to have a maxi, but in my opinion, if possible, I think you try and game here. I think you try and game your opponent here, and you just kind of ignore this third back row, whatever it is. You just hope that it's not, you know, a bottomless or some shit like that. You know, if it happens to be, like... Well, I'm trying to think. If it happens to be Artifact Sanctum, obviously you have Breakthrough Skill in the graveyard to cover that. But I think that you try and game your opponent here if possible. 4,200 life points. If you can mass summon, then you go ahead and mass summon. Now he searches for Bear, which tells me he's probably not going to be able to mass summon unless he has Tensu. If he has Tensu, you know, things change a little bit. Now you see that Nesh just sets a card. I think he's waiting to be able to go for a big play. That happened to actually be Artifact Sanctum 2, which gets him the blue artifact, which is probably going to make Nesh use his breakthrough skill, because I don't think he wants to give up either one of these cards. I mean, he will be essentially losing his Goyoku if he doesn't use breakthrough skill. It's just, on your next turn, do you think that you can game Mickey to the D? So he does use breakthrough skill, probably reluctantly. And that's the only way that I see Nesh pulling this out. Sometimes when your opponent has way more advantage than you, you know that you can't game them with just, what's it called? You can't game them by out advantaging them. You have to like put everything into one huge play. Now you see Artifact Ignition, Ice Hand, and Myrmilio. Seems like a pretty simple choice there. You take the Artifact Ignition. Ice Hand wasn't going to do much. Neither was Myrmilio, who I'm not even convinced has any targets left in the deck. Okay, so he decides to take... I mean, if he has a Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, then take Myrmilio. If you know it's going to get you a plus. I just thought that... I thought he'd already used all of his traps. So Mickey to the D is looking at his... his Banish Zone. Although, you know what? Maybe he might not have any artifacts left to actually pull from the deck. Thus, he wouldn't be able to trigger Artifact Ignition. Because if my opponent activates Artifact Ignition on me, yeah, and they don't set anything, I'm going to be like, Judge or Judge. Because that is completely illegal. And it's your responsibility to know what you have left in your deck. So, alright, we see an Ice Hand, which is probably just going to be set. That doesn't hurt Nesh at all. It does give Mickey to the D more defensive options. It's going to be hard enough for Nesh to get rid of one Ice Hand, let alone two of them. Okay, so now Mickey to the D doesn't know what the fuck he wants. First he took Artifact Ignition, then he took Ice Hand. I don't even know what he wants. And apparently he doesn't either. So Ice Hand goes back to the deck, and he's going to shuffle them up. So for the record, let it be known that Mickey to the D took Artifact Ignition, and now he sets another card. Sets two. I think he sets some artifacts. So, plays up the Nesh. I don't think he'll survive another turn. You see a Bear Summon. I would imagine he's going to send Tinky to try and pop Maritek. Okay, so Mickey to the D doesn't have any response. Either that or we might see a Breakthrough skill. We haven't seen a Breakthrough skill for Mickey all game. Alright, so Maritek goes down. And you wonder what Nesh can do from here. He decides to set and pass turn. We see Artifact Ignition come down. That pops the red artifact. Red artifact is going to come back to the field and pop other cards. I would assume blue artifact. So now, yeah, red artifact goes to graveyard. Triggers its effect. Probably going to pop blue artifact. You know what? I guess this is why DD Crow is somewhat legit against this deck, is because artifacts have to go to the graveyard, and then, you know, you can DD Crow them when they go to the graveyard, thus they can't activate. Now, this is a card that Nesh just set, so obviously he can't use that. Although if he had something like Maxi, it'd be a good time to use it. He'd be drawing a bunch. Alright, so she pops Begatech. And now we see Trap Trick, Trap Hole Nightmare activate. And that's going to blow up blue artifact. And I guess that pretty much, I mean, that solves the problem of that monster. Your opponent does get to keep Begatech and defense, but, you know, it's like, I don't really think you care that much, to be honest. You kind of wonder if, like, how many other ways Mickey to the D has of triggering these artifact monsters. I wonder what Nesh has in hand. You know, unless maybe it's like I'm trying to think of a card that he just absolutely can't use. The first thing that comes to my mind is Wolfberg. It's a card that he just wouldn't be able to use, considering he has no targets in graveyard. Why not use Bear first? Now, it looks like he's going to try and crash into Bear. So, he's going to eat 500 damage. Although Nesh is thinking about it. Nesh is going to activate Bear's effect. I think they're both optional. Once per turn, you can... Yep, they're both... Well... No, Ice Hand, let's see, by your opponent. I think, yeah, they're both optional, actually. So, the face down is Solemn Warning. which he's going to activate. So that was no good for Mickey to the D. No good at all. That was really no good. So anyways, he's hit with Dark Hole, which honestly I think he likes. Well, no, he loses a monster on board, but he did get a free Tinky, and now he is locked and loaded for Wolfbrook, which I'm just going to guess is already in his hand. I'm just taking a wild guess. I think that Wolfbrook is in his hand. Now, you see he's going to activate that Tinky. I almost wonder if he needs a Tensu more than a Tinky. I don't think he plays 3 Goyoku. If he played 3 Goyoku, you almost wonder if he would have went Goyoku. I think maybe he just took Tinky because he was like, well, might as well get something, right? Again, for those of you guys who may have forgotten, these 2 cards are locked out by Goyoku. Oh, okay. That was my mistake. I thought that he had Wolfbrook in hand. He already had it, or he did search for it. So, no, he didn't have Wolfbrook in hand. You know, if he goes for King Tiger and it dies, he could totally trigger the effect by launching some of these back row. Especially if he gets like a Tensen, he could launch the Tenki. Alright, so we see a Maxi. And yeah, I still think you go for it. I might even make Kagasuchi here, depending on if I've got back row if I've got one decent back row to protect it, I'm going Kagasuchi all day. Although, you know, like I said, you know, King Tiger, he can trigger, but okay, so he goes 101. Oh, that gets Blackhorned, so doesn't really matter what XC he would have went into. It's all getting Blackhorned. Now you wonder what Mickey to the D has set, and what Nesh still has left in the tank. He's got a field full of formation cards, but it's not a ton he can do with them. If only he had Rekindling. If only. Oh, never mind. When we see a Max C beatdown, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate, guys. Well, thank you guys for watching as always.